Intranet homepage design best practices from SP Marketplace, working with SP Workplace Solutions. So here's some basic tips. This is an internal site, okay, internal use site for employees or other internal constituents such as contractors or those type of things you may want to make it available to. It's not a public site. Okay, it's not like it's not your website for like your website. That is for the outside world, and it's a completely different objective. So in this internal site, the key function here is content and function is more important than beautiful graphics. That may be different for your outside website. The users are daily users, not periodic visitors like your outside website. So the content needs to change. It needs to have value for those users. It will become the collaborative and organizational hub of your organization. It's meant to be that internal homepage for your organization. It is not owned by any one department. Now, typically there is one department that looks after it. It could be communications, it could be HR, it could be IT. But you really need participation from all departments. This is an organization-wide project. You do not need to boil the ocean, as we would put it, in your initial implementation. Keep it simple, okay? You can deploy in phases, okay? Get it out there, get it being useful, get the processes working, and then add more as you go. So let's look at some common mistakes. One of the first mistakes we see over and over again, we've done this 1,400 times now, is investing way too much on design and graphics and not thinking about function. Again, you're thinking like a website administrator for an outside website site instead of inside. Okay, function is why people are going to come back to it, your employees. If it's just pretty and it says the same thing every day, that isn't going to help. Putting too much information or links on the home page. You've got to understand that you can overwhelm people. If there's more than 7 things on the home page, that by anybody that's gone to business school or whatever about communications, more than 7 things overwhelms people. So take a look at how we do it, where we're actually one click away from some information versus what's on the home page. Another big mistake, not assigning resources to update or own the content. This applies to the home page, but it also applies into departments because everybody is participating in putting this content in. And assign an intranet owner. Have somebody be the owner of the intranet and is responsible for making sure it's kept up to date. Not getting management buy-in. You need to have management buy-in. This is an organization-wide thing, and in fact, it actually can serve to help in your culture, establishing a culture of the organization, establishing communication. Those are all things that are organization-wide that should be important to management. Not introducing it to the organization to drive adoption. You really need to take this and almost roll it out as an initiative with the rest of the organization. And then finally, not learning the basics of that platform, SharePoint. Okay, and this is not that hard. You do not have to be a technical person. Especially with our products, the level of expertise is at a business power user level, not a technology level. Okay, so let's take a look at some bad examples, and here's some common mistakes. Investing way too much in design and graphics instead of functions. It's pretty, but there's nothing behind it. Putting too much information or links on the homepage, overwhelming people, not assigning resources to update the content, things that never change, not getting management buy-in, all these things. So let's take a look at some bad examples. First of all, what's wrong with this? Well, it's just a big old links page. This is way too much information on one page, okay? And not busting the name of the company here or anything like that, but these could all be separate pages or departments. Look at the navigation. It's just overwhelming by itself. This is overall, somebody just took a page and said, I'm going to put everything I can ever think of or anybody ever needed and put it on a page. And it's a waste of time. It's overwhelming. Okay, here's another one of those. Look how many things are on this page. Again, overwhelming, trying to put too many things in one place. Okay, here's one that doesn't have so many things on it, but news has taken over the whole site. Okay, and then they've got little, things on the left side and right side, just jammed in there, but news should not take over the whole site. Here's another one. And again, another news has taken over the whole page, the whole site. It's, from a real estate perspective. It is a little bit better. There's a nice directory. There's some blog things on here. So it's not quite as bad. So if we take a look at this, really that intranet homepage should be the central entry point for employees. And so it should be intuitive in its interface and the experience. It should bring new and changing information to the forefront, that front page. So things on the front page should be things that change. So things like news, things like announcements, and other things should be on the front page because they change every day. Okay. Now, if there's other things like our office locations, perfect example, those don't change a whole lot. That could be one click away. You could have a icon or something, a link that says our offices, and you don't try to put all of them on the front page. You need to design from the perspective of an employee, not departments. Okay, so employees, while they're part of a department, they don't see the whole organization as departments. And so it's important to almost create an employee central type of thing that says, if I want to find a document, I don't want to have to visit a department. I want to go to one place and be able to search across things to find what I want. If I need a quick reference card for Excel, I don't need to know it's in the IT department and have to go look for it or slog down through a bunch of folders in a central type of file server. I want to be able to do a search and go find it, no matter what department it's in. So it needs to be from the perspective of the employee finding things, not slogging through different departments. Now, they may need to visit departments for services and that type of things. That's okay. But if it's for resources, files, information, don't make them do that. So really what we're saying is minimize the need to look for information. Use search as much as you can. There is a search at the very top. Now, search can be bad too because it can be too wide. So you also may need to give the ability to browse or do targeted searches. And the other thing that's really important to understand here, and this is sometimes we see this with existing SharePoint customers that are used to on-premise SharePoint, is they go heavily into branding. And guess what? Branding is not that important. In fact, in the modern SharePoint interface, you can't do that anymore. And the reason is because Microsoft is creating one common user experience across the whole digital workplace, across Office 365. So whether you're in Teams, whether you're in Planner, or whether you're in SharePoint, they want it to look the same and familiar. SharePoint is no longer an island to itself. Let's talk about the components here of an intranet homepage. First of all, let's kind of break them out by how they're used. Everyday type of components. This would be internal communications, alerts, announcements, events, maybe even a new article in the newsletter or the blog. Okay, so that is there, and those may be added every day. It could be that, hey, we're taking down the ERP system this weekend for maintenance from IT, or it could be welcome a new employee from HR as well, or it could be a new sales win. Those are all things that are interesting and are timely. External communications. Bring in news feeds. If you're a solar company, you may have an industry solar site that actually provides news feeds. Bring those to the front of it so you have an employee base that understands your business and sees what the latest things are going on in your business. There, you might have a Twitter feed or a Facebook feed you might want to put on there. So put in external communications as well, or news that changes a lot. Again, everyday changes. And then the quick links, getting to things quickly. These don't change a lot, but it could be things like getting to your ERP system from one click, local traffic, weather, those type of things do change every day as well. So there may be different web parts you want to put in, again, for everyday type changing things. Now, there are other things that are frequent reference but don't change a lot. You don't use them every day. Getting to an employee directory, employee search. Okay, you might use those every day, but that's on an as needed basis, and it doesn't change all the time. So put in a link to this. Don't have it on the front necessarily the front page. It might be a link on the front page because it's frequently used. Offices or frequently asked questions. This is an important one. If you have a good frequently asked questions section that you can link to or page you can link to, that's going to cut down the amount of phone calls and stuff to supporting departments like HR or admin and other things. Make it easy to find policies and forms as well. And you might even add in discussions and suggestion box type thing too. But those are all things that don't belong on the front page. You might have a link to them, but they're going to be on another page as well. And then another part of this, and a key part of this, is the ability to navigate to other areas. So if you have an organization chart and you have on the organization chart divisions, or you have organizations like IT, HR, and other departments, those can be in the navigation and in almost like, think of it as your structure chart there. That's in above, in the navigation above as well. Whereas the frequent reference things may be in the navigation or menu for the home page here as well. So this is kind of the architecture of the home page and the content on the home page and really where it should go. So let's start to talk a little bit about how you actually set up the SP Intranet portal setup. And the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to establish your color theme, organization logo, and some general layout type of things. Now, we come with a layout that's already there, and you just may want to add some things, but establish this as well. And this is very easy to do, and as part of our full start, we actually walk through and do this with you on that. Then the next thing is to bring in content. And bring in news, bring in announcements, figure out what types of things you want to be able to have. Bring in events too out here and have them on the front page. But also you'll see that there's a set of links out here. This can link to those frequently used things like employee directories or our website or other things here too. Could be to a frequent, our payroll system, whatever it might be. And so there is a set of links out there, and this is called a content catalog. And the question is, what do you want to put in those links? What is important? And by the way, these links have to change periodically. You might have HR saying, hey, enroll in benefits by the end of the month. And you might want to have a link to where that form or whatever the site is that they enroll in benefits there. And you might want to have that expire at the end of the month. So the next step is really putting content into the site and then connecting the site to the rest of the organization. And this is that navigation I talked about and being able to connect it to different groups in the organization. And if you're using our departments, you can also have these groups push information up to the intranet so that there's always new type of news and announcements and stuff generated from the organization. So this is kind of the overall high-level steps of setting up your intranet. So let's just talk about look and feel specifically with SP Intranet. First of all, this is a template built to support Microsoft Office 365 branding rules and to fit Office 365 schemes. So the Office 365 portion of this is really this top layer up here, and you have SharePoint, you have your app launcher up here, and then there is your header. And your header is where the navigation is. This is links to other sites out there that are part of your portal structure. But you also can choose the color theme for the background. You can put your logo up there as well. And you even have a footer option that you can do. So those are the main things that you can change. And then everything in the middle here, you actually can edit, can change the layout, add in different things for this as well. So let's talk about why we laid the homepage out as it is. We see a lot of people that, in essence, deconstruct this. and because they don't know what to do with it or they don't know what they're doing. And maybe it's a little pride of ownership here, but that is a big mistake. It is set up because we've done lots of studies about what people use and what people actually adopt as far as internet homepages, and that's where we got that layout. So if you take a look at it, we have the workplace header and navigation. We talked a little bit about that. You've got a page header. It could be an image, it could be a collage, it could be that type of thing, but this really says, where am I? I'm in the intranet home here. The key thing here is watch how much space it takes up. If you look at a standard communication site, a lot of times they use something called a hero web part. That hero web part goes halfway down the page, and it literally is 4 or 5 pictures using up the entire page, and a lot of times it doesn't change out there. And here's an example of that. So you really got to be careful on, do I use something like this? So we don't ship that standard. You can set that up. Now, the next thing is get me to where I need to be. So give them links, not just the navigation here, but give them links that they might use every day, an employee directory. It could be a link to their Facebook page or a time zone reference if you're a global company. Useful things that employees can link to as well. And then more importantly, set up a catalog to allow them to pick their links, because the way SP Intranet works is it actually can see who this person is and allow them to pick and choose their links that show up, so that maybe the first thing they do, if they're an executive, they want to go see a dashboard and see how the company's doing, or they may want to go and see their calendar or their email or whatever it might be. So instead of going over here and seeing all these links all over the place that are part of Office 365 App Launcher, let them choose. And it doesn't have to be just Office 365 stuff. It could be a stock ticker. It could be a site, the Microsoft Tech site, if it's an IT person here or whatever it might be. Then put up some need to know information here. Okay, and this happens to be a solar company, Radiant Solar, and they do installations all the time. So one of the things they need to know is, what's the weather going to be today? And so we put in a weather web part here. We have announcements, and these are actually pushed up from the different departments here. Right in front of their faces is an alert about the ERP system, benefit enrollments, a safety certification class is starting. And then also you can have company events. And here's where we see a safety meeting coming up here and so on. These are all pushed up from different departments. And that's a key thing. Have departments participate in this. Okay, don't just have you, the content manager, running around. And then finally, what's happening now? And so this is company news. And the news could either be company news, you could have industry news, you can have social. Here's the latest tweets from the company. And it's amazing how many people in the company don't know what's going on and what the company's marketing or what they're pushing. This actually helps get them up to speed very quickly. And company news can be from inside the company or outside the company. But now as an employee, within one page here, I've got most of the things I need to see about what's going on today. Then you also have once in a while reference info. Now it could be here, or it could be here listed as a set of menus. But this is what I was mentioning in infrequently used references. So offices, click to get to offices, company blog. This might be, your online newsletter. Now, in some cases, you might want to put whatever the latest article is showing through a news feed out here. Frequently asked questions. This is really important. If you do this well, you're going to save so much time of people calling around and asking questions of what holidays do we get, or whatever it might be. And you could even have a separate holidays list. There's local links here, reference links. These are for transportation and restaurants and so on. These are all convenience type things. We do see a couple of these over here. Time zones is a convenience type thing as well. Notice an industry news separate page, that if I want to see the latest things going on in the solar industry, it's right here too. So this is how we have designed this because we've gotten feedback that this is what's useful to many employees. So my first thing to emphasize to you is, don't go tearing this apart because you think you know better. The question really comes down to, and I'm not being mean about that, the question comes down to, is the right things there to drive adoption? We've done studies and found that, this type of layout actually does do very well. So let's get to these links, okay? And, what should these links have in them? You actually can change them. You can have them expire. But these are links that the company is putting out there. So everyday useful link suggestions is employee directory. We got an industry news site. We got reference sites. If there's time zones or zip codes or something like that, that might be important. Having a link to Google Maps right here. Having the organization website up here instead of having to type it in. Organization social pages like LinkedIn or Facebook and linking to your pages for that. Frequently used systems or pages. Now, examples of that would be like an ERP system or payroll. Or you could have a pages like a wellness page, the wellness program that maybe the HR group is putting on too. You can also have announcement related links. So as you saw earlier, we had, enroll in benefits. You could have a link to enroll in benefits right here or sign up for an event as a link too. So the key thing too is these need to change every once in a while. Some of these up here probably don't. Doc Central, Process Central, Employee Directory, these are all reference type things. But other things may need to roll off like the wellness program or the enroll in benefits and those type of things. And you can add new ones up there as well. And the My Links too, you always add more and more things to My Links. And some of them could be fun. It could be, Dilbert of the Day cartoon too, that you can allow people to add to their My Links. Make it useful, make it easy for people to get to what they need. So let's talk about other employee activities here besides just reference information and news and stuff like that. What else do employees need to do? Well, they need to find documents. Okay, what's our latest drug policy? What is our travel and expense policy if I bring my family along? And so on. That's where you can go to Doc Central. So these are what we call destination pages to actually get support employee needs to find resources. And so there's a link here that goes right down to Doc Central and the ability to find things. It could even be as simple as getting the latest employee handbook or finding the latest Excel quick reference card. Another area is getting help. How do they get help from, let's say, IT or HR or something like that? This is where you have the Get Help or Service portal, Help Central, and business processes. What if you need to ask for time off instead of wondering if you kept the link in your browser or that type of thing? Why not just go to have a business process page? And that's what we've done. So employee self-service is a set of pages that allows employees to get to kind of the three other things. There's information here, resources here, help and service here, and business processes here. And so that's the way that's designed. We very much incent you to not change those things. Those are very valuable and time-saving. So the other thing is establish your communications team. So the way that SP Intranet is designed is not just as a standalone homepage, but it's designed to actually interact with departments, to actually allow departments, because they're putting in information in their little service portals for my HR, my IT, whatever it might be. There is little news and announcements down there. The content managers here, and each department, you need to establish somebody that says you're the content manager for your portal here. And so you should be putting in news announcements and events. But what if the announcement is something like the ERP system is going to be taken down this weekend? Then that really the whole organization should know that. And that's where you establish your team, and that IT administrator or whoever the person is that is putting in announcements into this, they can just check off a box and it'll push it up here. It will actually alert you that there has been an announcement submitted from somewhere in the organization, and you can approve it and have it show up on the Intranet site. So each of the departments that actually is running a portal here should also be part of your communications teams. And in fact, when we do training on how to set these things up, these people should be involved. And you should actually have some strategies and find out what's going on and making sure that they're continuing to push information up here, because that's going to help you keep the information fresh and not have a stale site. If you have to worry about that all yourself, good luck on that, because information comes from all over. Communications comes from all over the organization. Let's talk a little bit about just the requirements process. And there's a lot of stuff here, by the way. So, it's up to you on how detailed to get with this. But the Internet requirements process is very important. And so you might even, we see a lot of companies form an Internet requirements team. It might include management, some department managers from different departments, and employees, a variety of those, just to get some feedback. And in fact, ask our team, if you're part of the full start, for a content management worksheet that you can actually take down notes. So establish the organizational objectives with upper management. What's the key objective of having this homepage? And interview stakeholders. Communication, collaboration, productivity, fun. What types of things would you like the site to do, Mr. VP or Mr. President? Set ground rules and expectations. Do some education across with the team, management team, of what an intranet is and is not. Okay, that it's not just a rehash of your external website and this pretty thing. It serves a purpose. Educate management on what resources are needed to make it a living content site. Really talk about the participation of departments and so on, and set expectations with a phased implementation plan. So you don't need to put everything on that site or have it be cover everything in the first iteration. Keep it simple, and you can phase stuff out. So gathering requirements, understand the needs of your users. Create a catalog of possible content. What if you could, interview somebody, say if you, or even do a survey. If you could just link to anything, a useful thing from the from our intranet site, what would that be? Do you need to know time zones? Do you use maps? Do you have to use postal zip codes or those type of things? And also, what collaboration things? Would you be interested in knowing what we're posting on our social networks? Would you be interested in participating in discussions? So you could do that and have discussions. You could do a survey to find out what people would be interested in. You could even do a requirements session focus group where you get people together and have them talk about things. Even show them a demonstration of SP Intranet as it is out there, or even slides. Analyze some of the requirements, prioritize, and create a phased plan of deployment. Okay, and what that means is what content do you want to show on the site, and what do you want to show first and then add later, that type of thing, and get approval from the management team and proceed. So here is the intranet requirements, and you can put in SP Intranet as an out-of-the-box design as your first phase. Don't go through this. Actually, use the best practice design we already have and start populating that if you want to keep it simple. So launching your intranet. One of the things you need to do is testing with pilot groups. So bring in some people after you get some of the basic content in the intranet set up, and train content managers on the intranet and basic SharePoint. This would also be potentially your department content administrators too. They're going to be participating with you. Work with the content managers to add the relevant content, form pilot groups to test the intranet functions. So have some people, make it available to people. Hide it until you're ready, but make it available to some people to go test it, and create a suggestion box on the front page or an email address that they can go make suggestions and then adjust and test again type of thing as much as you feel you need to. Don't go too far with it. Probably 2 times as good. You can also, going forward, create a content management group that might meet once a quarter to establish and update content rules and process, to discuss what types of content or how the site should grow, and get commitment for keeping the content up to date from the different departments. Finally, launch to the organization. Engage the organization. Have a contest to name the intranet. Hold an internal webinar to introduce it online. Even record that webinar for a video for those that missed it. That is kind of a here's how you use it and what you can find. And provide end-user level SharePoint training class or video access for some of the basic things like working with document libraries and other things. too. And this is actually more important probably with the departments than it is with this. And then create an ongoing intranet guidance group. So this is overall um, uh, what we would suggest as best practices for getting your intranet out there. The next video will actually be showing the content managers how to make changes on the intranet using the content management dashboard. So in conclusion, we want you to be successful. You need to understand some SharePoint just at a business user level. It's actually quite fun, especially editing pages and that type of thing. Understand how and why we designed the products as they are. Don't tear them apart. Or talk to us before you do that. If you have questions about what to do, ask us. If you have ideas or new ideas for our products, share it with us. And the other thing too is if you're a company that has a lot of departments or divisions or those type of things, you may need to go further than just the intranet. You may actually need to have a multiple level intranet for divisions and those type of things. That's where our operational portal structure service comes in. That we actually work with you to assess your current structure, communication, and processes, and then map out your business to a portal structure and create a project timeline there to go across your entire organization. So hopefully this has been helpful, and I think you're now ready to move on to the content manager training for the intranet.